The best decision I had ever made. It was the best decision I made my whole life, I would say. Joining the Lunar Church, I mean. I should begin from the start though, right? You need to hear the whole story because I know you'll want to join as well. Any sane person would. I was in a bar that night, drinking my sorrows away, having found my wife cheating on me with my asshole co-worker, Mark, then doing something I regretted immediately afterwards. I was a mess. Coming home from a business trip 2 days early, I got out of the cab and dragged my 3 humongous coffers to the front door, where I stopped to get a special something from my backpack. Adeline and I got into a fight over her mother staying with us just before I left, and we hadn't spoken in almost a week. I was being an ass, I thought, so I got her a really nice, really expensive pair of earrings to make up for my mistake. Opening the door stealthily, I snuck the covers inside and closed it with care, doing my best not to make a sound. It felt right, you know? It felt like I was making amends and saving my marriage. Cue me finding Mark humping my wife from behind. They didn't even see me when I stood at the door, my mouth open wide. No, they only noticed I was there when I dropped the box with the earrings, which thumped loudly, making me feel like an elephant in a china shop. Mark pulled out and hid behind the bed, started apologizing and putting his pants on, while I stared at my wife with a wild look in my eye. She wasn't even sorry for what she did. I saw it in the way she scoffed at me. In an instant, something snapped in my head. Mark was trying to leave the room. Then I grabbed a baseball bat that was hanged above the doorframe and hit him over the head with it. A loud thump rung across the silent room, and he was down. Madeline gasped in disbelief. He was getting back up, and I saw thick red blood trickling down his scalp. I struck again, and again, and again, and again, and once more for good measure. Then I stood up, looked at the bloody pulp left of his pretty face, and hit it again. With each strike, I heard bones snapping. I saw shape deforming, and felt the bitter, salty taste of iron in my mouth. My wife had her mouth open as if to scream, but no sound was coming out. This amused me to no end for some reason, and I realized I was aroused. In this beast-like state, I jumped on the bed, punched Madeline in the mouth, turned her around, and penetrated her deeply. She cried and cried and cried while I had my way with her. Honestly, it was the best sex I had ever had in my life. When I was done, I grabbed her at the nape of the neck and smashed her head into the bed frame. Her head either wasn't quite as thick as that of Mark, or I must have slammed it much harder. It took only 2 hits for the skull to spill wonderful, beautiful, purple tissue all over the room. This is the mindset I was in. Adrenaline made me remember every vivid detail, as well as my enjoyment of it. When that was done, I finally regained control over myself and started weeping like a child. This wasn't me. I had never done anything like this before. My first impulse was to call the police and turn myself in, but I didn't want to go to jail, so I took a shower and went to the bar to get drunk. I could come up with a plan afterwards. In about an hour or two, I was in a stupor. The world waved and curled and coiled and twisted in front of my eyes. I forgot what I did. Then I remembered. Then I forgot again. I only remember once more. Here's where things took a turn for the better, though. During my inebriation, I must have yapped my mouth to the random strangers sitting beside me, and boy was I lucky. Had that been anyone else, but who it was, I would have ended up in prison, or worse. This man, however, was a priest of Luna. He talked to me. He understood. He told me that he knows I'm a good person, and that it wasn't my fault. It was my wife. She did this to me. She made me kill her. She made me kill Mark too. The priest knew everything, and he said that God has a plan for me. First though, I had to make amends and tie up all loose ends. With those words, he left me in the bar, and I passed out. As I was returning home the next day, I knew that what was waiting for me, and I was terrified of the prospect of facing the consequences of my action. I opened the door silently, just as I did the night before, all the wrong reasons. I expecting a damp smell of musky blood to overcome my senses. But there was nothing. I was astonished. Rushing to the bedroom, I had been hopeful. My hopes were proven right. There was absolutely no trace of either of the corpses or any of the things I did to them. The baseball bat was clean. There was no brain matter glistening the hardwood floor. As I was trying to get my bearings, the telephone rang. It was my boss. She asked me if I was going to take a couple of days off since I texted her that I wasn't feeling all too well. Confused, I accepted the offer and went to lay down in the bed with a clear memory of what heinous acts I committed in that very room. After a short nap, I decided to call my wife's mother and tell her that Madeline ran away or something. But when she picked up the phone, she kept apologizing for her daughter's behavior and cursed Mark for what he did. It was surreal. Over the next couple of days, life continued as if neither Madeline nor Mark ever existed in my life. There were no consequences for what I did to them, and I was free. Loose ends were tied. So I returned to the bar where I met the priest. Lo and behold, he was there, with a hood over his eyes and a smirk on his face. Of course, I joined the Lunar Church when he offered to do so, and I'm now happier than ever. It's been 10 years now, and at last, it's time to spread the word. If you're ever in a pinch, meet a representative of a Lunar Church. Do what they say, for they know best. God is on their side.